Hello, my name is Zach Gibbs, and I'm a content developer within education services inside Juniper Networks. And today we will be going through the Paragon Active Assurance DNS Monitor Learning Byte. All right, so here is our topology. In this topology, we have three devices that we need to be concerned about. There is the TA1 and TA2 devices, which are our test agents, and they use ETH0 to connect into the management network. Then we have the control center, which also connects into the management network, and it will be communicating with TA1 and TA2 through the management network. Then TA1 and TA2 connect into the service provider network using ETH1. All right, so with that, what are we going to do? We are going to configure a DNS monitor. Duration is going to be indefinite. Since monitors, that's just how they run. There's no time limit. Well, until you stop them yourself, but there's no actual time limit. The clients are going to be TA1 and TA2. The DNS server is going to be 8.8.8.8. The lookup name is going to be juniper.net, or rather www.juniper.net. We are going to be using the DNS record type of A, so it's just going to be using IPv4. The time between requests is going to be 10 seconds. Error seconds threshold is going to have a timeout of 20 milliseconds. The error seconds threshold will use a timeout of 200 milliseconds. And so what that means is if at any point when reaching out to www.juniper.net, it takes more than 200 milliseconds for the response to come back, then we're going to have some error seconds. And so the request lifetime, 200 milliseconds, response code, no error. We're not expecting any sort of errors. Our recursive requests are enabled. So with that, let's go ahead and jump to the control center web interface and get this going. All right, so here is the control center web interface. We're on the dashboard. So let's go ahead and click the Create New Monitor shortcut. And so that creates us to the new monitoring group creation window. And that's the same as if we went to monitoring and then new monitor. That would do the same thing. It's just a shortcut. Okay, so let's go ahead and name this. We'll call this DNS Monitor LB, short for Learning Bytes. And then the first thing we need to do is we need to determine which section we need to select on the left here. The TCP UDP performance section, which is the default section, doesn't have anything that looks like DNS. However, it's pretty easy to find it under the HTTP and DNS section. And under here, we can see the DNS and HTTP tasks. And we can select obviously the DNS task. And this is a puzzle piece task, which means we can run other tasks in parallel with this while this monitor is running. Okay, so with that, we want to select the interfaces, the clients that is. It's going to be TA1 and TA2 using the ETH1 interfaces. And then DNS server, it's going to be 8.8.8.8. Lookup name, www.juniper.net. We're using the DNS record type of A. We could do quadruple A, CNAME, MX, and whatnot. So there's a lot of different options there. Time between requests. So this is how often we want to send those requests. That's 10 seconds. And the timeout, let's set that to 200 milliseconds. And that's for the error seconds threshold. So if we get anything above that, we are going to get some error seconds. So under advanced, we have the request lifetime, the response code. We could add something for an expected response. We don't need to do that with this learning byte. And also we can enable or disable recursive requests. And we're just going to leave that enabled, which is the default. And so let's go ahead and start this monitor. And it asks us if we want to create periodic reports with this. And if this was a production network, I would highly recommend it. It's not necessary for our learning byte though. So let's go ahead and start that monitor. And I'm going to pause this learning byte for just a minute to let us get some good results. And so I'll start the recording in about probably 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll be able to see where it ends up. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes. I was hoping to get some error seconds, but things are actually looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and edit this monitor and change that timeout. Let's change it to what we had the default of 50, and then save this. And then what I'll do is I'll pause the recording again, let this run for a minute or two, and then we'll have a look at things. All right, so we're still not getting any error seconds. So let's go ahead and change this again and set the timeout to something small like 10 milliseconds. That should definitely produce some error seconds. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then I'll pause the video again and start this back up in just a minute. All right, so now it looks like we're getting some error seconds after dropping that value down to 10 milliseconds, that response time value. And so you can see here that we had green, so no error seconds. And now we're getting lots of error seconds, 50% or more, since we are seeing black here. And so with that, let's go ahead and look at the individual streams to get some more information. And you can see here how it was running, see where we stopped it. And then you can see how it was running again. And then you can see where we stopped it again, started getting those error seconds. And you can see, let's go ahead and look at the min response time. You can see that going through here, the average as well as the max. And you can see here that we're definitely above 10 milliseconds. And we can look at the table, and by default, remember, only errors are being shown. And so we're only seeing the errors that are now showing up. And we can see the minimum response time is well above 10 milliseconds, as well as the average and the max. And so that does bring us to the end of this learning byte. In this learning byte, we demonstrated how to configure and use a DNS task within a monitor. So as always, thanks for watching.
Visit the Juniper Education Services website to learn more about courses. View our full range of classroom, online, and e-learning courses. Learning paths, industry segment and technology-specific training paths. Juniper Network's certification program, the ultimate demonstration of your competence. And the training community, from forums to social media. Join the discussion.